He's asking about the groove to keep it greasy, which is, I get asked that a lot. I recorded it on Joe's Garage, earlier Frank Zappa record. And basically what it is it's kind of like, it's almost like an old fusion groove, like Mahavishnu or something. It's like, it's in 1916, but it's 4/4 and 3/16. 3/16 tapped onto the end of the bar. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So the 16th note is the constant bass. But we played it like that because instead of playing it like we wanted it to groove more. So we said. Hold on 1 second, I have a problem with this pedal here. You know what it is? It's just fine. Yeah, it's not really tight. Here we go. Is there an Allen? This thing here wasn't moved on. Maybe he has an Allen. So anyhow, what I was saying is the actual rhythmic pattern of it is in that time signature is this. It's pulse in your head so that you're not really counting that much anymore or at all, as much as you are feeling a series of accents. Hello. Did you guys ever hear that song by Michelet? No More Lies? Anybody ever heard that? Every time I hear that phone ring, I always think, hello. Baby, you're the only girl for me. Hello. Phone hangs up and hello. You're all I think about.
Chill out, your nose is grown, Pinocchio.
So just like any other pattern, even if you play it in 4/4, as soon as John's helping me out a great deal here, so you're gonna have to bear with us because it's a new pedal and we didn't tighten everything down real well like we should have. You know, just like any pattern, like even like Soul Vaccination, even though that's in 4/4, it's like. So it has it has a series of accents. So just like 1916 has, so you keep that pulse in your head, like a clave. So that's when you could start playing around with it and avoiding one. You know? yeah. Please turn my mic on, thank you very much. And so, I mean, you could start avoiding one, you know. You know what I mean? Like playing the E of one. One. Sort of thing, just to break it down so you can hear it better. And you know, when I started working on Odd Times, what I would do is I would play grooves like that, playing 7, you know, real basic 7, and then try things like playing on the E, on the last 8 of 7, you know. Different, like over the bar line triplets, you know, later. And then 5s, you know. So you have 2 quintuplets and a triplet. So you have, you know, in 7, if you watch my hi-hat, it'd be like. Actually, 3 quintuplets and a triplet. So the quintuplets are 5/2s, which encompasses 6 beats, and on the 7th beat you have, okay? And if you notice the 5/2s, they're pretty close together in speed, so if you the metric modulation thing, which is another story, but basically to not be premature and try to stretch out too much on that all at once. What I'm trying to illustrate is that, you know, in developing Odd Times, you first have to get comfortable with the bar line, then you can start experimenting with avoiding the bar line. And then you can start experimenting with things that happen inside of the bar line that go way over the bar line. Play, and I don't go for something at the drum set, so that what I hope to happen is that my ears will guide me instead of some text that I learned that I'm trying to find a home for. You know, then what usually happens, I've found in my own personal experience, is that you get this lick that you practice out of a book, which is designed really to give you an idea of how to break stuff down that already exists for a musical reason. You know what I mean? Stuff that's been documented, that somebody played that was hip, hopefully, that some, you know, that this is how they did that, or this is how this music is to be played. You know, it never came the other way around. It never happened where suddenly some guy started writing drum books, and then drummers learned stuff out of the book and then went and played a gig. It's like when music was invented, when rock and roll was, you know, somebody started doing this, and the guy sat down and played, and they started playing a fiddle, and then some guy invented fusion, and they let their imaginations, the music invented itself. Then it was documented. You know, and the text, the instructional text was documented to provide people with ways of illustrating how it's done. So, with that philosophy, you know, my whole idea is that rather than try to, I mean, sure, I've gone through books like 4-way coordination just to try to, because you fall into habits, you know, like if you play grooves where your right foot always goes with your right hand. So those things cause you to do things where you split it up, you know, but they're not music by themselves. They're just examples, you know, to try to free your brain up. And so what I try to do now is I try to just play, and I'll go for stuff, and if I make a mistake, I really don't care if I make a mistake. Honest to God, I don't care. And if you guys laugh at me, I say, hey man, I was going for something. You know, I actually had the guts to go for something that I didn't know. like Tony Williams, man. It's like he was like my god of drums, okay? All-time hero, okay? And like, you know, I'd see him playing and he'd be going for stuff, and maybe he'd go for some flam combination. He might hit a rim. So what? He was going for something. And so I appreciate people who are very technically adept at work stuff out and it's always real clean. And I have a lot of respect for that. And I could do that too, because I practiced enough where I could actually, I have enough of a vocabulary that I can sit down and play some lick that I know will work. It's pretty complex. But I try not to think about it when I play, you know. I try to just go, well, for example, you know, I know that I reached the line where I stopped doing certain licks, like if I was going to play triplet lick or something, where I know that I could play, you know, like I was going to play, I know that. I might catch myself, and I find that I'm the kind of guy who gets bored real fast with my own stuff, and so I might catch myself and I'll say, wait a minute, I'm doing that stupid lick again. You know, maybe it's not a stupid lick, but then instead of going, I'll purposely try to go. You know, play different things. Anything, you know, just to try to get something else out, you know, and just to try to get something fresh. So, I mean, it really, it's trial and error, you know, and so I think that after you develop a certain vocabulary, where you read these licks and you go, okay, because a lot of guys, let's face it, I mean, sometimes it's hard to hear what hand's going on what drum. You hear these hit figures and you go, well, how did this guy do that? I can't tell what the sticking is or whatever. So it's great if somebody puts it in the book and you can actually see it, and you can go, okay, it's this, you know. That's supposed to make you go, oh, that's what that is. Instead of looking at the book and going, let's see, here's a lick. Then you get on a gig, all right? Then you get on the gig, and you don't know why you're doing it. You know what I mean? Big mistake. Big mistake. Because you're going to have a reason for it. So, anyway, once you get that kind of vocabulary where it actually helps you spell out things that you already can hear, then you're on your way to creating your own permutations of that stuff. So basically, I just try to create permutations of stuff that's kind of already in my vocabulary, and I mix it up a lot, and I don't really think about what I'm going to play. I try not to do that. Yeah.
What was it like working with Gino Vanelli?
I worked with Gino Vanelli a long time ago, and what had happened was after I left Frank Zappa, I had the opportunity to work with Gino Vanelli and a group called Pages, which is now Mr. At the same time. So I was in this group called Pages with Richard Page and Steve George, and so we did the Gino Vanelli record during the day, and we were doing Pages in the evening. So when I had that opportunity, I left Frank, and because I told him, look, I really think that now I can stay in town and branch out a little bit more, because you know, when I get off the road with Frank, I couldn't get a gig. You know, I'd come home for a month and forget it, because I was always on the road. Pardon?
Are you a left-handed drummer also?
No, I'm a right-handed person. And but Gino, I'll tell you about Gino, is he was very demanding, because he was kind of like a drummer himself. And the more fusion-y I played, the better he liked it. So, you know, anything that I could do that resembled like more the better. It was a pop record, but people like it. I mean, honest to God, I was cutting the track with the bass player and I were out in the room, and I looked up in the control room, and I just looked up for a second while we were really concentrating, because it was like the 89th take or something. I looked up and here's Gino. No kidding, man. No kidding. Here he is. I couldn't play. I almost stopped. I was like, I looked over at Neil Stubenhouse, who's a bass player. I looked over at Stubenhouse, and he was like, I was dying. He died. He was crying, you know. I mean, and it was real meticulous. We had one song which had 33 tape edits. on the single, because we'd have to do another take, which was perfect. Then we'd turn around and do another take, just to change one note in the fill going into the bridge. Living inside myself. Pardon? I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Can you play a little again?
Oh, it's just, I mean, it's just the basic, I mean, it's just a real basic R&B groove.
Was that the only album you did with it?
Yeah, it was the only record I ever did with it.
You feel like David Garibaldi a lot, obviously. Can you break down the beat to Oakland Stroke?
Yeah, let me think about Oakland Stroke. Yeah, I really dig David's playing. I think David is a real underrated guy who was a big innovator for a lot of drummers that really never got the credit that he deserved doing it. I mean, I think he did it among drummers, but it's really amazing the contribution that he made to the drums. Let's see. I have to think about that one for a minute. I used to know that note for note. Let's say that you should get Dave to do the clinic. Like, I feel like I'm doing Dave's clinic for him, right? Dave, I did a clinic for you. No, I'm kidding. The hi-hat is kind of like, it's like N1, A1, A1, A1. So it's like there's a fill in the beginning, you know, and it's like 1. Anything else? Yes.
Which place would you give to a drummer entering the studio for the first time?
Find a place to park. Seriously, you know, that was funny. It's like, there was an old Tommy Tedesco line. It was like, somebody asked Tommy Tedesco, how do I get in the studio? So he said, find a parking spot. My advice would be, it's okay if I smoke?
We thought you quit.
All right. Okay, I'm good. But not right now. How much you asking me for a cigarette? Huh? I purposely balked on doing a, I'll get to your question in one moment. There's 9,000 videos out there. It's like, I really don't, I have kind of mixed feelings about it. I probably could benefit from doing a video, but there really is a lot of videos. The market, I think, is saturated with drum videos, and
We want you.
Now we do it. Yeah, we want you.
Do it. Everybody does it.
I'm more interested in doing a record first. Really, I really am. So if I can get a recording kind of situation, I'll be happy. But may I answer your question? The studio situation is it's changing rapidly. It's changed a lot since I got in. When I got in, there was no Lin machine. I'm not that old, man. Okay. But this was like just to show you how fast MIDI has advanced and stuff. Like there was no Lin machine, like click tracks, 24 tracks was max. And people were still doing demos, publishing demos, songwriting demos with real players. And that just doesn't happen anymore. It just doesn't. People go out and buy a little Porter Studio, a drum machine for $250, synthesizer, and bingo. One reverb, and they make the demos at home. And, you know, the important thing is really, there's a lot of factors in being a good studio player. And of course, you have to have good time and play with the click so that you could feel good with the click. Not necessarily be a machine, but because perfect time is not necessarily good feeling time. But you know, to be responsible, to be on time, which is something that I'm not always am, and it hurt my career along the beginning because I was always late. And you know, I wasn't. that's a little complicated issue, but anyway, read good psychologist. Difficult. I mean, I'll give you an example. I recently got fired off of the date with Christopher Cross. And the reason that happened is because I got called to do the date from an engineer who's a friend of mine. Not really a friend, but someone that I knew that I'd worked with before. He goes, hey, I'm going to do crisscross. I want you and Freddie Washington to do it. So we got called for the date. And I've got a Macintosh. I'm kind of into the computer thing. I'm not a real chip head, but I'm into the MIDI thing, right? And it's like, you know, I go in there, and I got my Mac catalog with me. And we're sitting there, me and Freddie are sitting in the studio, and you know, I'm sitting there in between takes, and we were there for like 9 hours. We were like trying to cut 1 million tunes in 9 hours. And so we're sitting there, and about 5 hours into it, I whip up my Mac catalog, and I start talking to Chris about it. He's way into it. I find out he's a total Mac head. We're getting along great. Wonderful. Talking about Macs. Once or twice I left, I got on the phone, ordered a case. On playback, I left and I called my wife and said hi, you know, and I went back in the room, and I'd go in and I'd listen and talk, yeah, that sounds good, you know. Get along great. The next day, I get a call from the producer. Man, you guys are typical LA jaded jerks. What do you think you are? This guy's an artist. Can't you respect the music? You're sitting there, you know, reading a book, you know, and this guy, you know, and they got really sensitive about it and thought that, like, I wasn't into the music at all, and the guy, like, chewed me out for, like, 10 minutes, really wailed on me, and, like, and said, you know, no, man, I'm sorry, you guys forget it, you know, this is really a drag. You're really being a drag. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry, I didn't know we were, like, into it. We were talking and stuff. You know, so I blew it, not knowing that I blew it because I never got any indication. So there's a subtle thing there where you really got to read the people. And sure, sometimes you get to the point where you go in and, you know, so they see you, you're Joe's studio player. Right away they think, oh, this guy, it's another date to him. And some people get real sensitive about it. They think, oh, he goes in and, you know, this is his 5th session today, and he doesn't give a heck about it. And, you know, it just doesn't mean anything to him. So that was kind of a tough lesson for me, you know, because it was sounding good. And you know, it's the most important thing. I mean, I know guys, man, who are real good players, but they're great psychologists, and they get over like you can't believe. I mean, we're talking about, hey, man, all the time. Always call the guys out. It's like, you get a phone call from them. It's like the car dealer who, like, sends you a Christmas card, and you go, I went there to look at a car last year and I didn't buy one, but he put me on his mailing list, you know, or I get these real estate guys that come up to my door, you know, and they put like little pictures or something on the door, like did you pour water in? It says Ed Koenig, Park Realty, you know, and after a while I'm always Ed Koenig, you know. So there is a psychology to that, and that's a big part of it, you know. Very important, man.
The front of your bass drum looks pretty high. Why is that?
It looks high?
Well, it looks like it's about it looks like it's about 3 inches off the platform there. Looks like it's definitely taken off. There's no reason for that, right?
They just set it up that way.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
What kind of foot pedals do you use? Number one. Number two, I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit on your foot technique. It looks like you use a lot of leg. All of your foot on your foot.
The reason for that is because I had to do it. It was do or die. And plus, I really liked doing that. It was just part of my makeup. I mean, I enjoyed doing it, and I had to do it. And I got a lot of flack from the other guys in the band for doing that. The percussionist used to hold up a sign that said, "Where's one?" Sorry case. Some sad shit if you don't know where it is. But you know what I mean? I'm good.
Is that the okay Vinnie? Where's 5?
Oh, I don't know why he did that. It just kind of went off, you know. Yeah.
Could you demonstrate the 2 drum fills, the big down clean and the shuffle length fill? There's like 2 fills at the beginning.
honest to God, I don't remember that fill. I don't know. I can't remember the fills I played on those records. But chances are it was probably some kind of double. One of the fills was based on like sextuplets with four in the hands and two in the feet, you know, which really could be executed a number of ways. You start with the right hand, and Steve do a drum trio. So we got together one day before the concert. We sat down with 3 drum sets in a room, and I said, okay, you play this, and you play that. And basically, what we all decided that it should be Steve's groove. It should be Steve's famous Mozambique, because he's famous for that and has a lot of strength and it's got a great feel, and that we would all trade 4s and trade 8s around Steve's thing. That was kind of a unanimous thing, which I think is only normal, deserving of respect to Steve as well. You know, I mean, the guy's a legend, okay? And he was around long before I ever was. So I got, you know, I felt that Dave and I should honor that, you know? And so I partially suggested that. And so we just, you know, got on stage and winged it, you know. And I just called Kathy up, and Kathy called me, Buddy's daughter, and said, well, which tunes you want to play? And I wanted to play this 1-2, this and that, had already called it. So I found another up-tempo tune that I liked, and found another one, and I just listened to some records. And when we got there, they had charts. Sat down, played the charts a couple times, ran them down before the gig, and played them the next day. But the experience was great because it wasn't about, well, am I going to make a mistake on this chart, or am I going to do this? It was like, we're playing for Buddy. And we want to collectively put back some of that energy that Buddy gave to all drummers, because he was such an influence on generations of drummers. You can't deny it. And I wanted to use the fill from another tape, but we never did splice it, and I was really upset to this day. I didn't want to use that fill. No. I wanted to use another fill, but that was like a set amount of bars. It was basically like, kind of like a non-alternated flam drag. You know what a flam drag is? So it's kind of like... try to do that. It's just, I've done it so many times by now. So I actually wanted to use a different fill. I played some really weird fill before that was like some weird polyrhythmic thing. And I wanted to use that fill, but they never got around to splicing it, which I don't know why. So, yeah, I wanted to get to you there. Because when I first got in, I did, you know, one of the first, I did this Pat Williams record. Here I was, Tom Scott, you know, Jerry Hay, all these guys, Chuck Finley and Robin Ford, Don Grusin, and you know, I sat down cold, and the chart was like 9 pages long. Made one reading mistake, and I heard the horn players mumbling through the headphones. So I wailed on them. You know, which, you know, and they dug it. So right away, it created a bond. It's like 2 guys who one guy beats the shit out of each other, and then they're best friends or something. It's like, that's what happened. It was like, I said, yeah, I got your, you know, I don't know what I said to him, but I said something back, and they backed off. Because I thought it was uncalled for. Because the tempo was ding, 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 ding. It was like, you know, like this long. And I'm like, shut up, man. You know, what are you, perfect? You know? Shut up. So, that's the end of that.
Give us an example of how you approach Latin play.
You know, with like a violin and bass drumming. bass drum and playing a 2/3 rumba clave in the left hand, you know. 1. You know. So that the feel is kind of like, Ed Gregorio explained it to me, like an egg rolling instead of a ball. So it's kind of like. There's a fine line between the triplets and the 16ths. Suddenly it's like. It's not this. That's a completely different feel than a Latin thing. It's a Brazilian time, you know. Sound bars I might play instead of the traditional. You have 1, done. So it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I try to honor that as much as I can from listening to various types of Latin and Brazilian records. But okay. Thanks. Thank you very, very much. Thanks. I really appreciate it. You've been a great audience. So I'll stick around a little bit. We'll sign some autographs and everything. I'll be glad to talk to you some more. Thanks.